Hey everyone, welcome to another episode for the podcast. Today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be doing everything that we both watched in July together because there's so many movies that I've watched that he hasn't in July.
Yeah, it's not a list of things we watched together. It's a shorter list than usual.
Yeah, a very short. I mean, the last one was like exactly that. It was
Was it
just
short?
yeah, it was kind. I'd argue it's kind of short.
Okay.
So basically, I guess to kind of extend the runtime because I need watch time and money. What we're gonna do is we're gonna recommend a movie that we've both watched, to get well,
Not together.
not together. One that we both have watched, and it doesn't have to be from something we saw in July. It just has
From
to
the
be.
summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So the first movie we watched together was called Grave of the Fireflies. I think you've seen it.
Yes.
We watched it.
together.
Yeah, watched it. We watched it together. So what are your thoughts on it?
Anime movie, animated anime. Right?
Yeah.
Really good story.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it, but also one of the saddest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I recommended it to you because I knew you were gonna be sad.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's a World War II movie about what's going on in Japan during World War II, and it really shows kind of how the suffering of war even kind of trickles down beyond the soldier, just to your average citizen or your average family.
Yeah.
It's really sad to watch.
Yeah, exactly. It's a movie that's basically, it's a movie that's designed to depress you. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I mean, can we spoil it here or no?
I mean, spoilers. Spoiler warning. Spoiler
I mean, it's a
warning.
movie about a young boy trying to protect his little sister.
Mhm.
And, doing some good things, protecting her, and then ultimately finding out that maybe he can't really protect her. He can't keep her
Yeah.
safe.
That's the thing. It's like there's I feel like this movie, it's about the consequences of war, but it's also in a way about maturity. Because sometimes like responsibility and such. Because sometimes there's people like around my age or people even younger than me, that are supposed to be taking on very big responsibilities, and some responsibilities, no matter how hard they try, they just can't handle it.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And war forced this responsibility on the kid. I
Yeah.
can't remember his name.
Yeah, this is stuff that's actually happened before. This is stuff that always happens.
Right. But no one usually makes art about it or makes a movie
Yeah,
about
exactly.
it. Which is what makes it unique. We'll see the soldiers fighting in a war movie or the generals making decisions. And sometimes you'll see what happens to the family. But seeing what happens to just this boy and his little
Yeah.
sister, it's just heartbreaking.
I think there was even a movie, I haven't seen it, but there was a movie where it was about the Holocaust, and I think the Nazis were seen as heroes in it, and it was a very controversial film because of that. I haven't watched it, but like there's even movies about that.
Yeah, that I don't know anything
Yeah.
about that. I just know this really showed that there are no heroes in war. I mean, people try to do the right thing, but like
Yeah.
you said, they have these responsibilities. They can't always live up to them. They make bad decisions sometimes, and the consequences of those decisions can be tragic.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's not really right or wrong side in war. There might be a side that is more right, but there's no good guy or bad guy in war, really.
Well, nobody wins.
No one really wins.
Yeah.
Oh. I think the weird thing is that the director, I don't know exactly how, but I think I remember someone saying that he interpreted it as like that they were socially isolated and something like along those lines, and that was supposed to be about that.
Well, I think they did become socially isolated. Like instead of
Yeah, but he said it wasn't because of the war, which is weird.
Well, I think because they didn't have a traditional family any longer, they were kind of ostracized. Meaning, like, the family that they joined with couldn't really accept them. And rather than being rejected by this family, they chose to go their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some benefit to going their own way, but in the end, the results of them going their own way and living on their own were tragic. So I could see that. Like this idea that in Japan, I know in traditional culture, the family is really important. They kind of lost their family. They didn't fit into this new family and chose to leave society as a result.
And the result was in a way tragic, but at the same time they ended up becoming ghosts.
Yeah.
And I think there's supposed to be a hint that they reunite with their parents.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to believe at the end. You're supposed to think happens at the end. That they're reunited and then they're reunited finally with their family again.
I mean, which is probably the best way to end it.
Yeah, but sad. all the way through. So
Yeah, it is sad all the way through because no one really cares about these kids. Like the aunt pretends to care, and then she kind of just snaps.
yeah, well, I think in the end, the aunt, even though they are family, she doesn't really consider them family and feels like they're a burden on her and her husband, and that they should be more grateful for having a place to live. And I just think that's a tough situation. It was painful to watch, even though it's an animated movie, an older animated movie.
Yeah.
It felt very real.
She just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She just, like, throughout it when she was, like, getting mad at them for saying absolutely nothing.
Right.
It's just odd and at the same time kind of sad.
Yeah, you can feel for the kids.
Yeah, the animation also was great, and it doesn't really try to impress you. Like, it's not like, I've heard someone say that before where it's, like, not trying to be, not trying to, like, say, like, oh, look what we can do. It's sort of kind of saying, oh, look at this world, look at this environment, look at how depressing and sad and how tragic it all is.
I thought the animation was very simple.
Yeah, it's very simple, but at the same time, it's realistic and effective.
Yeah, no, it was. No, I was really surprised by the movie. Even though it was sad, I enjoyed it, and the story was really interesting.
Yeah. I feel like with sad movies, you can enjoy them very well. I feel like that's how I see it. The thing is, it's like not even 90 minutes, but it feels just fine. Like it feels like a normal length of movie.
Right.
Like it doesn't feel really too short or too long. It just feels just right to me.
Yeah.
So should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, and maybe we talk about these next ones individually, or should we talk about them all together?
I think we should just talk about them all individually. What would you give Grave of the Fireflies out of 10?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
I give it a 10. It's my favorite animated movie, so I could probably go on for hours talking about it if I wanted to. There's so much to dissect with it.
Yeah.
We didn't really spoil anything, I don't think. But we spoiled a couple things.
It's not a happy movie.
No.
If that's a spoiler.
No, it's not really a spoiler. I feel like most people that know what it is are aware that it's not a happy movie. So the next film is Fear Street 1994. Do you want to review all the Fear Street movies at once, or do you want to review them individually?
Well, I was saying we should do them all at once. I mean, it's a trilogy. It all kind of it's one story. That's what I was saying.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just do that then. So, what do you think of the first one?
I thought it was probably the second best out of the three. So I liked it. Again, a little bit gory at parts where I don't think it needed to be. Went beyond.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the gore kind of like added to it. Not really. But,
yeah, not
but you
really.
But you could argue that with a lot of horror movies
No,
where
you could.
it doesn't need to be violent, but it is.
Yeah,
and
no, you could.
I feel like as long as it's not like really annoying, it's fine. Like with a movie like Evil Dead 2.
But I like the idea of the story, this supernatural force that's in a town that comes back periodically and goes after children. I mean, it is stealing a little bit from it, the story there, even though I know it's not exactly the same.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. The Fear Street books, I think, didn't come out too long before it, but at the same time, I feel like there's different parts of it, especially with the way it's handled, the way it's executed, and the way everything is. Really, the only similarities I see from this and it are the fact that there's a group of kids.
Group of kids, supernatural force, periodically returns, sometimes takes human form. I don't know. Like, I know they're different stories.
Yeah, that's kind of like saying like the way you like compare every superhero movie. Superhero gets superpowers.
Yeah, yes.
He learns how to use them.
Yes.
There's a threat. There's an evil villain.
Yes.
They fight. The hero wins.
Yep. Sky fight, hero wins.
Exactly. It's like basing it off of that.
Well, here's the difference. I would say, superhero is a smaller genre. When you're talking about like scary movies or horror movies, that's a large. To me, that's a large. You're talking about a lot of different types within there.
Yeah.
A lot of different types of horror movies.
Yeah.
So I think by saying that this plot resembles it in some ways is different than saying, well, it's all superhero movies are the same, because that's like a smaller genre. Like superhero is like a narrow. Like yes, there's going to be an origin story. Yes, they'll learn how to use their powers. When you say horror, we could be talking about ghost stories. We could be talking about witch stories. We could be talking about werewolf movies. Do you know what I mean? We could talk about haunted house movies. Like, there's a lot there.
Yeah, but the comparisons are quite basic, I feel like.
Yeah, they are a little bit, but I'm just
very
being honest.
basic.
Like, that's the feeling I had.
Yeah, but like with every single horror movie and like the way they're done, and like there's gonna be a few similarities from this horror movie and that horror movie.
And this one was similar to it. That's all I'm saying. I felt those vibes as I was watching it.
I don't know, and it didn't bother me too much.
Okay.
I felt like it was different enough.
It was different. I don't know if it really bothered me, but I felt I could see it.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like the way it twists, like at the end, I felt like it was creative. In fact, I did a whole video essay on this.
Okay.
Where I said it was kind of brilliant. I still think it's pretty good. I still think it's a really good movie. It's definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
I might have overrated it at first.
Yeah.
But it's good. I like the first one.
Well, it's good, fun summer entertainment. That's what it was. And the first one in the trilogy, like I said, I thought was the second best. And there was a good twist at the end. You're right.
Yeah.
Like there was a good twist that I didn't really see coming. So I enjoyed it. That's for sure.
I felt like I said this in my video essay as well, where the quality is so bad throughout it, like you think it's gonna be generic, but then once you get to the ending, it surprises you because you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Because it pretends to be a generic horror movie, but it's a little bit more intelligent, I feel like. And like in like Fear Street 1666, you can kind of tell that's kind of how it was intended because the acting's a lot better in 1666, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Than like Fear Street 2 and Fear Street 1, where they're kind of just stereotypes. So
yeah,
that's how I feel.
No, I agree. Another thing I liked about the first one is the soundtrack. It's a bit aggressive. Like, the opening of the movie, every 5 minutes is a different, really loud 90s song, and I like 90s music, but it was just a little, maybe a little bit too much.
I didn't really care for it at all. And like in like Fear Street 1666, they do the same thing where they play like a 90s montage after trying to like have like a somewhat decently emotional moment, which it wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
But like it was good. And then they're just like, "Oh, are you kidding me? Why are you using 90s rock music?" That's how I don't know what it is.
The needle drops were a little aggressive. That's all I'm gonna say.
Agreed.
They were a little aggressive with the needle drop, but the music was good. I'm not gonna say it was bad. It was good music.
Yeah, but it's like they picked good music. So what?
Right.
Anyone can pick good music.
Yeah.
Or like music that you like. I don't know. I feel like it has to be incorporated a little bit better to be used instead of just kind of throwing in like. There's movies that just throw in a bunch of like random pop hits.
Yeah.
And like Sing. Sing does that. I don't think it was well handled in my opinion.
Right.
But
there the music was an integral part of the story.
The cinematography is also very good, I think.
In
1-3, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, like it's
really
better than your average Netflix movie, that's for sure.
I like the usage of color. I feel like the soul, because like normally in a horror movie everything's just dark and black, but like it has this like sort of like, you know how like at night where there's like these like bright lights from like, like different buildings, and like you can notice it like at like a mall or something like that. I feel like that was utilized actually quite well.
There was a lot of neon, which I think is fitting because that's like the 90s, neon signs, neon colors at night in the street. So I think that fit the mood of it.
Yeah, it did. Okay.
Well,
since we kind of just already talked about 1994 pretty well, 1978.
My least favorite.
Agreed.
This is where it kind of all of a sudden became just kind of like a slash movie. I know there's more to it.
Not very much more.
Not very much more to it. To me, that's just been, just to be honest, done to death. Yeah.
I felt like with this one, I saw the twist coming a bit more. Because I was, okay, well, I saw the first one. It's more likely for it to be her. Like, it seems like that they're linked to that. But at the same time, knowing the first one and how that one was, and it was unpredictable, I kind of did see the fact that who it was coming. Like who the actual survivor was. I saw that coming, and I know they try to cleverly twist your expectations so you don't know who's going to survive, but it just doesn't work really.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's bad. I think it's all right. I think there's interesting things that adds to the lore. There's things that it adds here and there that I think are really nicely put together and thought out, and it's also kind of fun and entertaining.
Yeah, to me, I just felt like a lot of those things have been done before. I'm just being honest. I've seen movies like that from when I was a kid, and I know it's in some way tapping back into that nostalgia, but I don't have a lot of nostalgia for that. So to me, it was kind of, okay, so they're going to do this middle one, which does help to set up the third movie. I'll give them that, but the way they chose to do it, I just wasn't a fan.
I feel like the story and the idea of like Todd is interesting.
It's interesting, but not as interesting as the first movie, and not as interesting as the third.
No.
And I don't know. Like I said, it didn't really do much for me. I'm being honest.
It's like the opposite Empire for a lot of people.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I think it's hard in the second movie in a trilogy. You're not gonna end it.
No.
So like, where are you going? Like, how are you? What are you gonna do? And to me, like most trilogies, this second movie suffered.
It seems like for most people, like the third movie suffered. I'd say for like some trilogies, like How to Train Your Dragon, the second one, I felt like was kind of suffered a bit from that. I'm trying to think of another.
I like the second one. Maybe sometimes I like Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, the best Star Wars movie ever made. We can agree on that. Like, it's like the best one.
I would like to agree with you, but I don't agree with you.
Now, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, also the second movie. There are some great things in The Two Towers, but it has that struggle. How do you have a climactic battle that isn't the climax of the story? It's what I mean. They did that. And it was really cool looking. But in the end, what did it really accomplish? What really happened?
The whole movie is just kind of like a bunch of action sequences.
Right, that's what I mean, because it's like it's bridging that gap between introducing your characters and bringing the story to an end.
For a lot of people, like Empire's the best, and I think it's the second best out of the Star Wars trilogy.
Well, I know you.
I really like it. I really like it, and I feel like that's probably like the best you can do with the second movie.
Well, it's because it's great.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I feel like another one that did it pretty well was like Spider-Man 2. That's like I think another one in the trilogy.
I think that one. You're right. Maybe there are more second movies that are better than we give them credit for.
Evil Dead 2.
No. No. But I would agree. Like Spider-Man 2 from the original trilogy is a really good movie. Yeah. Second Spider-Man movie in the modern trilogy, not good at all.
I feel like the best sequels to trilogies are like from big blockbusters normally, or like superhero movies. Like Captain America: The Winter Soldier is, in my opinion, the best MCU movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best Captain America movie.
Maybe more we talk about it. Maybe those number 2 movies aren't so bad.
We should do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, but this one, not so
good. It has a weird like obsession with like yellow and green.
Yeah, I just, like I said, it did not do
There's like this one scene where they're like walking in the dark, and for some reason there's just yellow all over their faces.
Yeah, I know the lighting was weird.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the '90s movie, I did get the feel of the '90s, even though like I said, the mic drops were a bit extreme, aggressive mic drops. The '90s music. My God. I didn't really get a feel for the '70s at all.
I feel like that there's an issue with that because they're at a camp.
Yeah, well, it just, again, I just don't think they accomplished their mission.
The thing is, I feel like that could be fine if I'm hooked a little bit more into the atmosphere. Because I know some people will be like, well, it's set in the 90s, but there's not enough references for me. But, like, that can ruin a movie, too.
No, if there's too many, it can ruin it. I don't think the movie didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just finding fault with it that I didn't enjoy.
Like, if it had just reference after, which it does have a couple references, and some of them, like, the New Kids on the Block one, that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not all about that. It more focuses on the story than just throwing references at you. And I feel like, even if it's set in, like, a past time, I don't think it really needs to be entitled to do that, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, but, like, I still don't like it very much. I think it's all right, though. I feel like...
let's go to the third one.
Yeah. I think the second one's just all right. There isn't much bad about it. Okay, so Fear Street 1666. This is my favorite out of them.
I think it was my favorite too, probably.
Yeah. The thing is, I feel like the first hour is a lot better than the second. I still love the second hour, or I think it's about an hour.
Yeah.
But I feel like the first hour of the movie is a lot better because we actually like get to know Sarah Fear.
Yeah.
And we get to like know what happened actually.
Yeah.
And I feel like with that it's interesting. And I didn't really see the twist coming. I felt like, I mean, if I had a bit more time to figure it out, I probably would have, but they really don't give you time.
No,
and I like that.
Fast.
Yeah, I feel like with the twist it completely just tries to set up something else and then there you go.
Yeah. No, I like the third one the best. I think they did a nice job doing the time jump from 1666 back into the 1990s. They did a pretty nice job connecting all the dots, to the story in the past, to the story now. The payoff was decent, it was interesting. There were some funny parts to it, in the end.
I think I really liked the payoff overall because of like how much build up there was to it, if you really think about it, because of like how many people they've lost. Yeah. And while it's not a brilliant payoff, it's not like Return of the Jedi or Return of the King level, but it's still a pretty good payoff, I feel like, with the way they execute it, the way it's handled, and the amount of build up to every person that has lost somebody in this entire movie. Because if you really think about everyone in this entire, the remaining people has lost someone.
Right.
From this. So I feel like it's a very nice emotional build-up.
Yeah. No, it was a good payoff, and again, decent music, some decent action, story blended together nicely. It was a good way to end.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you give all of them out of 10?
All of them together?
No, just separately? Like separately.
I mean, they're not great movies, so to me, there's no 9s here. I'm taking 9s off the table.
Okay.
I'd say the first one is probably a low 8. The middle one, to me, that's a 6 or a 5. Like, I just did not. I'm not feeling it. And the third one, I give an 8. So I'm not ranking them high.
Yeah, my first one I'd say is like an 8.5. Like, I think that's a really good movie. Almost like a 9. I think it's a really great movie. I'd say 1978. It's a pretty low 5. It's really just kind of okay. It's nothing terrible. It's nothing I really hate.
Okay.
But, it's all right. Fear Street 1666, I'd say, is a high 8. I think it's getting close to a 9.
Okay.
I don't think I'd put it that far because there are flaws with it. But I really like I really like 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and
where does it rank in terms of your favorite trilogies of all time?
I don't think it'd be up there.
Not nowhere?
No, I don't think so.
What is your top trilogy of all time?
I think my favorite is the Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Wow, the modern Planet of the
Apes. Yeah, the modern one. There's no... Yeah, I also... All the Planet of the Apes movies are all on HBO, so we should just binge those.
My top is Star Wars. I know that's basic, but...
Very basic. Very normie of you.
Very normie, but again, the original Star Wars trilogy is pretty good. Yeah. It's hard to beat.
The thing is, I thought I saw every single trilogy, but there's this thing called the Colors trilogy.
I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, and there's also this Before Sunset trilogy, which I've heard very good things about. Okay. It's like a romance trilogy. Yeah. I don't know if you heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think another one of mine that'd be pretty high is the Spider-Man trilogy.
The original Spider-Man trilogy?
Star Wars would be up there, Lord of the Rings. This isn't like in an order, but I think those are some of my favorites.
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I don't really love Temple of Doom that much.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I really like Last Crusade and the first one.
Okay, well, there's 2 out of 3 that are really good.
Yeah, I feel like with Fear Street, when it comes to horror franchises, I think it's probably up there.
Yeah.
I'd say but let's be honest, most of them aren't very good.
Yeah, trilogies especially.
Yeah. But there definitely are like a lot of them I haven't seen, so I can't really fully judge that.
So what's the next movie we're talking about?
Okay, the next movie, after Fear Street 1994, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which we watched with my sister.
Yep.
She really likes it. I really like it. What do you think of it?
It was one of your favorite movies when you were very young.
Oh yeah, it's like a movie I watched all the time.
I like it. It's still funny. There's still parts of it that are funny. Mm-hmm. I think the plot is obviously ludicrous, but it's an animated movie.
Too bad Ludacris isn't in it.
Yeah, too bad. But the jokes it's still a funny movie. Yeah. I don't remember how people felt about it when it came out, if it was popular or what its ranking is on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I have no idea, but we've always been entertained by it.
I think with it, it's entertaining, but it's also creative with the animation.
Yeah.
I felt like the goofy, fun the way people move in this movie is interesting, and I really like because like the cop, I forgot his name, but he kind of moves like an athletic cop.
Yeah.
And then there's Brent, who kind of just moves like a chubby man.
Goofy guy, Brent.
Yeah.
The chicken guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like Flint, who's kind of skinny and sort of like, I guess, moves swiftly. It's weird the way I'm talking about this, but like if you watch the movie, if you've actually seen it, this doesn't sound as weird as I'm saying it out loud. It's hard to like explain it. They just move creatively in the way the animation's portrayed.
There's a nice blend of kind of stuff for kids in there, and then jokes for adults. So there's that nice blend of humor, where an adult can watch it with a kid and laugh, and they can be laughing at different things or sometimes the same thing, but it's good.
It's like a crazy Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
It is. It's bizarre, but it somehow works. It's like what DreamWorks used to be, where they took these weird concepts and just
what studio is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
Sony Pictures.
Sony Pictures.
Yeah, like I feel like some of the best animated movies are the ones that take a weird concept that would never work, and they make it work.
What's another one that took a weird concept?
Monsters Inc., Ratatouille,
okay,
films like that. I think Shrek also would probably be one of those.
Well, Shrek's like the OG of these movies.
Yeah, debatable.
No, I mean it is where it took this crazy concept in a different direction, and I know you're not a big fan of the Shrek movies.
I actually do really like I like the first one. I think it's really good. I think the second one's amazing. The third one's bad, and then the fourth one's my favorite.
Oh, fourth one's your favorite?
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's a great payoff. It's so underrated. Everyone just hates it because the third one.
Oh, okay.
I think. At least that's how I see it.
I can't even remember the plot of the fourth Shrek.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay, we should just rewatch them all together. Let's just stop the podcast.
We should.
Let's just stop the podcast now.
Yeah, I would say Shrek. I like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but Shrek is better.
I mean, yeah, but those are also, I don't know, it's kind of a random comparison, But I guess, I think I like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs more, but it's a weird thing to compare these movies.
Yeah,
it's odd. But I think Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, it's fun. It's probably, it's one of the best animated movies in my opinion, 2009. I think Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Coraline are two of the best ones.
Oh, they were both 2009?
Yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox. 2009 was a pretty great year for animated movies.
Okay.
So, what would you rate it out of 10?
Again, not a great movie, solid animated movie. I give it an 8.
I give it an A as well. I think 8's a pretty good score, though. I think it's a really good score.
Okay.
That's how I see it, though. So since we finished the first three movies, I kind of put them all like in the order we watched them. Yep. Next one, Black Widow. Here we go.
Wait, did we talk about this one already, though?
We watched it in July, though.
But did we talk about it in the last podcast?
I think so.
Okay, then let's not talk too much about it.
Okay. It's trash. It's garbage. If you like it, then you have no taste in film.
Okay, your views do not represent everyone's views. I know you have an issue with Marvel.
No, it's not that. I like WandaVision.
Okay. I thought Black Widow was it was okay, just okay.
But that's like why I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't great. I would have liked it. Like when I thought about Black Widow, I thought about spy movie, similar to Winter Soldier. The kind of not really knowing what's going on and not knowing who your friends are, that kind of thing. That's really good. Winter Soldier. I thought they're gonna do like Winter Soldier Junior here. Mm-hmm. They did not do that. They went kind of a little bit more traditional action movie.
Fast and Furious level action.
A little bit like that, and then fun family comedy, like family kind of goofiness.
Yeah, uterus jokes.
Yeah, well, not that, but the fact that they're all family together, and dad's doesn't like us, and mom's upset. Those kind of things.
Yeah, and the dad can't fit in his suit because he's fat. Yeah, definitely didn't steal that from Incredibles.
Well, okay, so they went that route with it, and I would have liked it to be more serious, like Winter Soldier. But again, I understand they just made a decision to go in a different direction.
I mean, I kind of understand why people just kind of think it's a fun time.
Yeah, that's all it was meant to be. There's some heavy topics that are dealt with in there, heavy topics in the movie, but they lean more into the fun part of it.
I think that's why it doesn't work for me, is because it tries to be heavy, but it fails. Yes. And it's kind of like where it just addresses like a topic, and then it really doesn't really try to discover it.
Yeah, I was hoping for something like the Winter Soldier. I don't know how to compare. Like what we got was more. Ant-Man's not a good comparison, but what we got was more just a goofy.
Yeah, because Ant-Man's competent.
Well, but it's more like a goofy movie, like where it's not. I'm not saying this is for kids necessarily, but that we got something that's a little bit more goofy.
Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
But I don't think if I am interrupting you or not. But
no, you're good.
Okay, so I think with Black Widow, what I don't like about it is that its tone's all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't know if it's trying to be like a fun adventure, like Ant-Man or something like that.
Right.
But if it doesn't know if it's trying to be like a heavy, deep movie, like Winter Soldier, I'd say. I think.
I'd agree, yeah.
Yeah, Winter Soldier's not insanely deep, but it discusses like political issues and it handles them well.
Yeah.
But Black Widow doesn't really discuss any issues really, or like it talks about it, brings them up, but it doesn't discuss them.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't seem like that's what the movie's really about. But I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't think it was as bad as you thought, but I agree that it's a movie that doesn't seem to truly know what it should be.
I think I know what it was trying to be, a money machine, because it really doesn't have a place in the MCU.
Yeah.
Besides to introduce the Russian Avengers.
Yep.
And this plot line of Black Widow's sister trying to murder Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, introducing the new Black Widow.
Yeah, well, I think I will say there is something I like about that, because one of my issues with Endgame was the fact that he just murders a ton of people, and then, like, never, no one in the Avengers seemed to care. Like, they just are like, okay, well, come back to us now. Please help us. And that's it. Like, he just goes Punisher on a ton of guys who, yes, were bad, but still.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that isn't fully explained.
Yeah, and now I'm glad they're explaining it. I just wish we didn't need to have a whole movie for that.
Yeah.
I wish it kind of was just in a TV series and explained it. And I'd actually take that issue out of Endgame then.
Well, I think that's what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're doing the Hawkeye series, and I think this character that's in Black Widow will appear in that series.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen.
I think the issue with that TV show is I don't like her. I think she's annoying.
Who?
Black Widow's sister.
Oh, so I thought she was good. I think if I had to pick who I thought did the best acting job in the movie, I would say her. Now, again, she's not going up against phenomenal competition here, but I'd say she probably did the best job.
I think out of everyone that isn't Black Widow, I guess her. But, like, she's not... Like, she doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah.
She just kind of feels like a written MCU character to kind of just be there and tell MCU jokes. Like, I don't really see, like, a character there.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see how they develop her.
Maybe we'll see. Hopefully she gets better, and hopefully they never make another uterus joke again. That was so cringy. I cringed so hard when that was.
No, there were some bad jokes.
There were some. I feel like with the MCU, they've never really been that great at humor, except for in like depending on who writes it.
Because if we're comparing them to DC, they're much better at humor than DC.
But DC doesn't really try humor.
Right, clearly.
Yeah. Well, they don't need to. Like they're.
I mean, you could argue they might want to try occasionally.
But like Aquaman, I'd say has better humor than Black Widow.
Maybe. Even though Aquaman is not a very good movie, I would say Shazam has better movie than Black Widow.
I think it really depends on like the writers for the movie though, because Joss Whedon I think did a really good job when it came to humor for the Avengers. Obviously, he's probably never gonna work ever again. I think we know that he probably will never get another project finished at this point.
But when you look at the MCU's track record with humor, even in Winter Soldier there are funny moments. Even in Endgame and Infinity War there are funny moments. Thor Ragnarok filled with funny moments. Yeah. They're better at blending the two.
Well, Thor Ragnarok's actually like a good movie.
Yeah.
Endgame, I feel like those funny moments were like the weakest parts of it for me. Mm-hmm. I don't really like any time like they talk about like Thor Lebowski.
Yeah.
Or like the weird things with the Hulk, like what the heck happened to him.
Yeah.
And them doing a picture with their stuff like that, like dabbing in.
Well, I think the Hulk and Thor are, yes, attempts at humor, but probably the two weakest ones. But I'm sorry, there's certain one-liners throughout the movie where they can still balance a little bit of humor.
I think so. I just don't think the MCU has done the best job of humor, but it also depends on the person writing the script.
Yeah, I just think better than DC, and that's their competition.
Yeah, but like better than... Yet humor, yes, but I'm not saying the. I'm not saying.
Don't start this argument right now.
Let's start this argument right now. Let's make this.
Don't start the argument DC versus Marvel because you're going to lose.
Well, the thing is, you always say DCU versus the MCU. The issue is that's unfair. So when I say DC overall has a better catalog than Marvel overall, that's what I mean. Yeah. DCEU is obviously not better than the MCU. There's also somewhat of reasons for that because it also depends on the person that's running it.
Yes.
You have Kevin Feige, Who do we have? I mean, what does DC have
There's no organization.
besides like Warner Brothers?
Yeah, the only thing we know about the DCEU or DC, whatever you want to call it,
They don't even know what to
is
call
every
it.
5 years there'll be a new Batman because that's the character they have. They have not done a good job of developing any other characters.
I mean, I'd argue in Zack Snyder's Justice League that Cyborg was well handled, The Flash was well handled.
No, I mean it did take kind of a grassroots protest campaign to get that cut of a movie released on HBO Max. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're saying they haven't handled a character great besides Batman. Well, they have.
Yeah, well, maybe in a 4.5-hour cut of a movie that was never released in theaters, they actually developed the character. But I wouldn't hold that up as a huge success story, considering that they've had all this money, top writers, top directors, and all they seem to consistently do is Batman.
Yeah. Well, the thing is Batman is also the most iconic character.
That's what I'm
So
saying. That's the one they've got.
they're gonna go for that. But at the same time, yes, it's a long movie, but it's like they took their time to make something good. They wanted to get something made, and regardless of how it got made, it still got made.
I mean, there are other people that shoot 4.5 hours of footage.
Yeah.
But the editing and storytelling is just more efficient. So you never have to see the 4.5 hours, and you're still satisfied. Yeah. So yes, they took the time to make that, but I would bet when they shot Endgame, they had over 4 hours of footage.
Yeah.
And they just edited it to the point where you could tell the story efficiently and entertain in a movie theater.
Yeah. But the thing is, sometimes you kind of need to take your time with films. I'm not saying this is always the case. I think Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition is mediocre.
Yes.
It's not that great.
Yeah.
I'd argue Zack Snyder isn't the greatest writer out there.
Nope.
But I feel like when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think that's an exception in his catalog.
Okay, I think we have to move on from this topic.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
You were talking about Black Widow. Yeah, Black Widow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just another forgettable MCU
Let's
movie.
move on to the next one.
Okay, well, what would you give Black Widow a 10?
It's a 7.
I'd give it like a 2.
Wow.
There isn't much good about it.
That's harsh.
That's the thing. Like, I have so many issues with it, but I don't have anything good to say about it.
Okay, well then a 2 it is.
Okay. So, next one, we have the 2 Tarkovsky movies that we watched this month.
Okay.
Don't worry, I didn't torture him to watch both of them. I tortured him to watch one of them, and then he tortured me to watch an almost 3-hour one.
Right. So Tarkovsky's a Russian director.
Yeah.
From the 70s. I mean, he did work throughout, like, I think it starts in the 60s or even 50s.
Yeah, I think so.
But maybe his most popular films or most well-known are in the 70s.
Yeah, he even, like, did in, like, the 80s, too.
Okay.
Like, he did the 80s. So, he had a long run
Okay.
when it came to that, even if he didn't have the longest catalog.
Okay, so the first Tarkovsky movie we watched was
Ivan's Childhood,
Okay.
which I think is kind of decent. It's not great.
World War II movie again.
Yeah.
Russians fighting Germans in Russia. Child,
Yeah.
main character.
There's not really a main character, I would say.
Okay. But a child that's being used as a spy?
Yeah, which I don't think they explored very much.
No.
I kind of wish they did more explore.
I was very interested in that, and then they kind of went away from it.
Yeah. I feel like it's more of like taking these group of people and like what it's like at the camp before the
Yeah.
war actually happens. I felt like that's what Tarkovsky was going for. And like I guess he kind of wanted us in a way to put us in the shoes of this child. I don't know if he did the best job at that though.
What I liked about I really liked the beginning of the movie where the child kind of shows up at this camp or base, Russian base, and the people there don't know who he is, and he doesn't really explain. He's like, just call so and so, they'll tell you, and you better call so and so. This kid also almost is like a commander telling all the stuff what to do, and you don't really know why. I thought that was a really good way to start the movie.
Yeah.
You're interested immediately.
Yeah, I think another thing about it that I do really like is the style. I think Tarkovsky, regardless of what I'm going to say about these 2 movies, and trust me, these aren't going to both be 10 out of 10s, I'll tell you that much. I think he's a good when it comes to visuals, obviously. I don't know why I said obviously, but he's a very creative director, I feel like, when it comes to visuals, and I feel like he just kind of needs to have a movie where he just lets loose. Maybe that's going to be Stalker.
Yeah, which we didn't see.
No, we're going to see eventually.
But Ivan's Childhood, I did think the visuals were interesting. I thought There's some very interesting scenes in it. Some scenes that are like dreamlike, where you're not really sure if it's
Yeah.
real or not.
Yeah.
And then some scenes, like he was talking to this old man whose house had been blown up or burned down in the war.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting conversation. Ivan was the child was talking to him, and the house is gone, but the door is still there, and the guy kind of shuts the door and locks it, even though there's no walls to the house. Like he locking the door or shutting the door does nothing, because you're basically out there in the middle of the field. There's some interesting things going on there.
I think it's like if an experimental film and a war movie kind of clash together.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know how much time we'll talk about it here, but I liked it.
I think it's a 7 out of 10. I think it's decent.
I would say 7 as well. It's hard because this wasn't a really long movie, but his movies they tend to move at a really slow pace.
But sometimes that works to its advantage.
It does, but it just feels like a very slow paced movie.
Kind of, but I felt like it worked. So. Okay. Next one we're talking about, this is gonna be fun. Solaris.
We saw Solaris. 3 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes. 1972. That's a guess.
I think it is. I think it's 1972. Let me see. It came out like 4 years after 2001. I'm saying this only because I thought it was gonna be like a 2001 movie where it's kind of like it because it looked like it from like images.
But it is not like it.
It's not like it at all.
The first hour, it's really hard to figure out what's going on because not much is happening.
Yeah, the first half.
In the middle of it, you kind of get a sense of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, it's also a little bit confusing.
I think with Solaris, one of my main issues about it is that the first 40 minutes, we have no idea. It's just boring. Like, there's nothing really to be interested by. And I wouldn't mind if we didn't know where it was going and it was a mysterious movie.
Yeah.
If it hooked me.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of 40 minutes of nothingness that really didn't add to anything.
I would agree. To contrast it with Life of Ivan or Ivan's Childhood, that one started out mysteriously. You didn't really know who the kid was, but it hooked you in. Like, the dialogue hooked you in right away, the interaction, the way the kid was acting, and the reaction of the soldiers to that kid, it hooked me in right away. This one, it was weird. The opening was almost, I'm not saying it's a dream sequence, but some of Tarkovsky's scenes, I'm not sure if they're real or not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's actually someone's waking moments or a dream. Mm-hmm. And the first 40 minutes felt, in a weird way, almost like an extended dream sequence where I wasn't really sure if what was happening was actually happening. And that did not interest me. It made it hard for it to hook me in.
I feel like Tarkovsky just kind of wanted to make a long movie.
Well, he did, yeah.
He made a really long movie, and he wasted my time. Thank you.
Now, the ideas in it I like. If you know anything about Solaris, and spoiler alert for Solaris, a lot of this comes down to, like, what does it mean to be human, and what is a human? And if I look like a human, and I sound like a human, and I have the emotions of a human, does that make me a human? And I found that was kind of interesting. And how should we treat someone if they have all those things, but they're not human? I don't know. That was really interesting to me.
It's also kind of about, like, life and not really... The thing is, you're not going to get a second chance at it.
Right.
And that you're going to have to move on and move forward from it.
Or are you going to have to?
That is true.
The part of the point of the movie, I think, was that...
people can't.
Some people can't, and some people don't want to move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they can't, or they just don't want to. They would rather live in some weird way in their memories or in the past than move forward, which I think is what the main character ended up doing. He chose to live in the past.
Which is unique. I think I would like it a lot more if it wasn't so long.
Yeah.
I think it takes us half of the movie to actually know what's going on. And if it was just kind of 5 minutes on Earth and then we go up to the ship, I think I wouldn't mind that because we would get to sort of have it mysterious and not know quite what's going on. And I feel like that would work more. If those first 40 minutes were cut off into maybe like 10.
Well, and I mentioned this to you. There's a modern version of Solaris from like 2002. Mm-hmm. It's not a great movie.
2009.
Is it 9?
I think it is.
But they jump into this immediately. Like, they're on the ship almost immediately. The opening sequence is not nearly as long.
Yeah.
So it's not as big of a deal. Is it 2009?
It's 2002.
That's what I just said.
I thought you said 2012.
No, I said 2002.
Oh, I'm done.
So I think that it's not a great movie, but they jump into it sooner, and it's 2 hours long, or less than 2 hours long.
Yeah, but I think But I think I'd rather see one directed by Tarkovsky.
No, that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
And you
and
got your wish.
except for it's just too long.
So what would you give this movie?
I give it like I guess a strong 5.
Strong. Wow, that harsh. Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
I might have to give it a 5 or a 6 as well.
I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's very good. I think maybe I give it a light 6 because there's some things I really love about it, but it could have been a lot shorter. Mm-hmm. And like I'm not normally one to say that because Barry Lyndon, I think it didn't need to be shorter. I felt like that was perfect length for it.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, like Return of the King as well. There's films like that where they're really long and they deserve to be really long. But this film didn't, in my opinion.
Well, if it's good, it doesn't matter how long it is.
Yeah.
And or if it hooks you in. I won't say this isn't good because some people probably really like this movie, but if it doesn't hook you in, then it's a long, long movie.
Yeah.
It feels like a long movie if it doesn't hook you in.
And it doesn't really hook you in.
Not me. It didn't hook me in.
Same. It just didn't hook me in for like the first. I wasn't interested in the first 4 minutes because I didn't know what was going on, and but it wasn't visually interesting. Like it wasn't like full Ivan's childhood, weird, crazy, insane dream sequences where you have no idea what the heck is going on and you love it.
We're losing stuff because it's in Russian and we're watching subtitles and translation. Like, so maybe that's part of the reason why it didn't make sense to us and the same might have to other people.
I mean, I feel like foreign films are kind of just the same as movies from us. I think the difference really is that we just can't understand the language they're talking in, and there's subtitles on the screen.
Maybe, but in some languages, the translations aren't always exact.
Yeah.
Like to translate from Russian to English to those subtitles. I'm not saying like you're not getting the basic ideas in the language. You probably are. But there might be nuances of what is actually being said that you're losing, because people think there's perfect translations to things, and not always. Words don't always line up exactly the way we want them to, and so you can lose part of the message as you translate.
Yeah, well, they're not perfectly worded. They're sort of like differently worded a little bit.
Yeah, and that might affect the story. That's all I'm saying. I'm open to the idea that might affect my understanding of that opening 40 minutes. It might affect whether or not I like it.
Maybe. I think with it, though, it's like normally with the subtitles, when you actually look at what they're saying and look at what the subtitles are saying, normally it's kind of just like slight differences.
Yeah, but you don't know because you don't speak Russian.
That is true.
So it's like we're like accepting that they did a good job and what shows up on the screen is exactly what they're saying, and maybe it is, but I'm also open to the idea that maybe it's not. Maybe
just a slight different wordings.
But that could affect your understanding of what's going on.
Okay, so we finished all of them. We said everything we watched. It's 47 minutes. I am kind of tired of this. What we're going to do is we are both going to say a movie that we want to recommend to both of us and to everyone watching this.
I'm going to make a quick recommend of something very quick because 47 minutes is too long. But I'll make a quick recommend. I probably recommended the last podcast. If you haven't seen Sweet Tooth yet on Netflix, I'm just going to say you should check it out. Highly entertaining, highly engaging, different view of the apocalypse. You know, there's a lot of apocalypse movies and series out there. This one's very different, and I think you'll like it if you watch it.
He's also recommending this to me too, by the way.
You should watch it.
I've not watched it.
Give your quick recommend.
My recommendation isn't a TV show, but it's a movie. It's called Playtime, which is directed by Jacques Tati. It is from a French director. It's not on... It's on Prime Video to rent, but it's for a couple dollars. I think it's on Look Movie as well, or like other websites that you could find it on. Don't blame me if you find a pirated website. That's not my fault. But what I'm saying is that it's a movie that it's a comedy. It's over 2 hours, but it's a very intriguing. It's very fun, but also delightful. It's a movie that takes place in futuristic times, and we sort of get to explore it, but in a comedic sense. And it's a very interesting movie to watch. Jacques Tati is someone that likes to take environments with people, and I think this is, from what I've seen from the 3 movies I've seen from him, I think this is the best he's done. I have to see a couple other ones. I want to rank his movies, so eventually, maybe if that ever happens, I'll give you guys a ranking. It's a great comedy in my opinion.
Okay.
So that is going to be it for the podcast, everybody. Make sure to go follow all my social medias, my Instagram, my Letterboxd, my everything. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Take care.